Hello and welcome everybody. It's been a long time since I chatted to you. There's been a very long gap between round 4 and round 5 of the GR Cup, kind of a mid-season break. As you will recall, our last race was down at Aldo Scribante, and I've been looking forward to this next one since the beginning of the season, since I first saw the calendar and saw that East London was in the schedule. I just started to get excited. Anybody who's ever driven through Potters flat out in a car that may or may not get through there flat out will tell you it's something to look forward to with a little bit of fear and a lot of excitement. But I'm absolutely gutted, folks, because East London has been cancelled. Unfortunately, the track failed a safety inspection as I understand it, but very fortunately, we don't lose the round. In fact, we're going back to Aldo Scribante, so we'll do 2 races in a row now down at Aldo. As you know, I love that track. We had a good event the last time. I'm not unhappy about that, but I won't lie. I'm a bit heartbroken we don't get to take on Potters. Anyway, that presents a little bit of a problem because if you've been following along, you'll know how these things go. Generally, I'll do a track preview. We'll look at the circuit. I'll show you a track map, and I'll show you all those amazing plans I'm making to try and be a little bit quicker. But hey, we did that last time. You've seen the track. You know my plans. So what are we going to talk about today? What I thought we'd do is look at what's been a success, what's worked so far this season, and where do we still need work. And the beauty about having nothing but time on my hands between these 2 races has meant that I've had time to review a lot of Aldo Scribante, and I've found a few little things that might help us go a little bit quicker. Right, let's look at the positives. The first thing, and it's something that really surprised me at the beginning of the season because I thought 20 years out of a race car, lots of rust, there's things you're going to lose, right? You just won't be as sharp as you used to be. And the thing that I'm really pleased with is car control. That control of the vehicle you have when you're right at the limit or even just stepping marginally over it. That's a muscle memory thing, and it comes with experience, and it comes with seat time, and it comes with managing those situations when you encounter them. And I haven't done that for 20 years. So I really thought that this would be a huge challenge for me. The biggest mistake you can make when a car starts to get away from you is to overcorrect or overreact. Very often you have to decide, do you need to react? And if so, exactly how much input are you going to put into the car? And what I found is that's felt very natural for me. Whenever I've had a moment or needed to manage a situation, my instinctive muscle memory reaction has been just about right with very little overcorrection. Let's have a look at what some of those examples look like. So what you will notice here is that the response is very measured. There's no sudden movement or overcorrection. It's all very gentle. And that's fine when you're going reasonably slowly. And these are pretty low speed. But what happens when we go a little bit quicker? Well, at high speeds, naturally, you have to react faster. It still has to be gentle and measured though. Just the right response that the moment requires. In fact, the next one is really scary because this is a very high-speed corner and well held there. In fact, we held it so well, we still managed to get on the brakes, take a massive tap on the bumper, still make the apex, and get a good exit, all under control. What I did quite well this year, I thought, was I looked for those slippy conditions. I looked for the mornings we had a damp track and a wet surface, and that's when I pushed it. With the slower speeds, it would then break traction, and you would experience very quickly how to correct that. But what I was really pleased with is that when the vehicle did break traction or lose traction, or I did have a moment, my instinctive reactions were the correct ones. So 20 years or not, that old muscle memory is still in the back of my mind somewhere. And it's very important that you can correct those moments with muscle memory because you don't have time to think about it. Your instinctual reaction must be the right one, and you must never overreact, because all that'll happen if you do that is you'll give yourself another moment after the moment you're already trying to correct, and then all bets are off. Things can get ugly pretty quickly. The second thing that's given me great satisfaction this season has been my ability to learn, plan, and then execute. In my younger years, you got a fast race car, you just drove it as hard as you could all the time, trying to extract the maximum lap time every time you sat in the seat. And don't get me wrong, I push hard every time I'm sitting in the seat. But if you don't take what you learn whilst in the seat, go back, sit down, have a chat with your technician, think about the corner, review your footage, check your lap times and your splits, you've got nothing to apply. Unless you learn something when you're out of the car, it's hard to apply it when you're in the car. And the things that have really brought me satisfaction this year is this constant small improvements all the time that are really helping us perform better and have moved us up the grid. They're particularly important for things like qualifying and for the first couple of laps of the race. Also, obviously, the laps you drive during the race. But there are times when the best thing you can do is to have a calm, settled mind because you know the plan and you know what to expect. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how that looks. When I consider my first qualifying session down at Killarney, it was a disaster. I think I aborted 5 or 6 laps. I got stuck in traffic. I lost my cool in the car, got upset with myself, eventually got a lap time. Not a very good one, enough to get me reasonably onto the grid, but it could have been so much more. And all of that was about planning the session. I just hadn't given myself a goal, a plan, and the sort of roadmap to go about getting the lap time that I needed. And it's certainly something that's improved along the way. Let's just set the scene quickly. This is qualifying down at Aldo Scribante. Unlike Cape Town at the beginning of the year, I have a plan. I know exactly who I want to be behind. I'm going to not let anybody else get in front of me. And I'm going to make sure that I get through all the basics like warming the tires on the outlap. So my place here in the queue is not random. I've specifically chosen to go out behind Nabil and Paul. I'm not directly behind Nabil simply because I think he's a little too quick and might pull away. I'm far closer to Paul, and I think he might pull me onto a good lap. So I've chosen him, and I've given him just enough space so I can still execute. So we're in perfect shape now. No pressure from behind, just close enough to the guys in front of me to get a tow, but not interfere with them on the lap. And I'm working hard on tires and brakes to make sure the temperatures are spot on as we open the quali. Folks, the third thing that I'm pretty proud of this year has been my ability to stay calm and manage pressure. And that's going to sound like a bit of an odd one. There's a lot of nerves stepping into a car you haven't raced before, particularly if you haven't done it for a very long time. And it's easy to get yourself into a situation where you're sitting behind that wheel, your heart rate is at 185 and you haven't even gotten onto the track yet. And I promise you, when you're that anxious and all of that is coursing through your body, you make mistakes. I know this from experience. The ability to manage yourself, to calm yourself down, to remain calm under pressure is incredibly important and will help you improve tremendously. From the first race, I suffered terribly. It wasn't the best race weekend for me for that very reason, and something that perhaps might surprise you, but I've had this my entire career. Even when I was younger, I got to the point I used to actually lock myself in the men's room an hour before a race because I just couldn't speak to people. I would be so nervous and anxious about what's to come. And what are you nervous and anxious about? I mean, think about it. You're in a remarkably safe race car. You're probably not going to hurt yourself. It is all fear of failure. It's about not delivering what you hope you can deliver and what you've built yourself up to deliver. You know, somebody's put you in a car. It costs a fortune. The sponsors are there. Any sport where you perform in front of a crowd, well, your failures are hugely public. There's nowhere to hide. If you make a mistake, it's going to come back to bite you. And I think all those things build the nerves. Mental toughness is a very funny thing. I mean, how do you become mentally tough? How do you quiet the mind, settle the body, and remain calm? What helped me tremendously is, a few years ago I read a quote that said, mental toughness is nothing more than the ability to stay calm when all about you is chaos. I try to find whose quote that was. Actually, I think it's an internet version of Rudyard Kipling's poem, written back in the early 1900s. That poem is called If. It's a great one. Go and read it. Here's a funny thing about the mind. I've just learned when I'm in the car and I feel myself getting anxious and I feel myself getting tense, all I say to myself is, stay calm. Stay calm. I remember that mantra and I say it to myself. I don't know what magically happens in my brain between me saying it to me becoming calmer, but something clearly happens. And I've got to the situation now that when I'm stepping into the race car to go out, I'm actually excited for the prospect of the session or the qualifying or the race. That's what's got me excited, not the fear of failure. And it's very much in the head. These are the tough moments. Because of editing, I know you don't have 4 hours to watch one of my videos, so we tend to take a lot of the waiting out of the edit. But we sit here literally 30 to 40 minutes in the car before the race, and if you're nervous and allowing nerves to dictate how you feel, that just compounds. You get more and more and more nervous. It's at these times I'll sing a song in my head, I'll remind myself to stay calm, I'll think other thoughts, everything to stay in a steady, quiet space of mind so that it comes time to race, I can focus. Now's the toughest time. It's the start. I allow myself one thought only. Focus on the red light, nothing else. Nothing else matters. So, what are those things that I'm not happy about that we still need to work on? Well, the first one, and it's a big one, is I still make way too many mistakes, and I particularly make those mistakes whilst under pressure. Each mistake is a fraction of a second gone in a lap that you can never get back. If you assume you're driving a lap reasonably well and you have a mistake that costs you 0.2 of a second, you can't overdrive the rest of the lap and try and get it back. Those little mistakes add up. Not only that, but they cost you opportunities. When people in front of you offer you a gap because they've had a little moment themselves or they haven't executed quite so well, if you then make a mistake in the same moment, it costs you the passing opportunity. And I've got a few examples of those. Let me show you. So, quick scene set. This is early on in the first heat. I'm behind Werner Fenter. We're going into the final corner. He's about to present me with a great opportunity. He's going to push a little wide on the exit and I'm going to spot the opportunity. The trouble is I get so excited by the prospect of a pass. I focus too much on the line and forget the basics and pull the rev restrictor on the gear shifts. Not once, but twice. Not to be too self-critical, but that's such a basic mistake. One wonders how I managed to muster the intelligence to dress myself and walk upright. It gets worse, folks. This is a great battle. I've got pace on the car in front of me. I'm going to put him under pressure on the brakes here, try and force him long. I brake late, managed to still hook up the apex, get a great exit, and now decision time. What on earth am I doing trying to pass him down the inside when there's no gap? I should be way to the outside and slingshotting the corner. But no matter, we've exited okay, I'm still close, I'm going to put him under pressure again. Try and force the same mistake I did last lap. And there you have it. I've made the same mistake 2 laps in a row. I don't even have enough creativity to find new ways to sabotage myself. It's just not good enough. Now that I've shown you the wrong way to do it twice, let's try that again and see what happens when you're calm. Beautifully onto the brakes, Shift down to third, not second. Smoothly onto the power. Get the apex. Use all the road on exit. The car in front of me has made no mistake. But look at the bags of overspeed I've got now. Shutting him down hard. So much so, we're going to have a crack at him on the brakes. Move to the outside. This is going to be awesome. Hit the brakes. And then remember, marbles, offline, fail. The second thing that I still need to work really hard on is mid-corner speed. I'm very happy with my entry to corners. I'm braking late, but not too late. I still think I'm slowing the car just a little bit too much on the apex in the really important laps that matter. I've got some footage here that'll show you exactly that. It comes from qualifying at Aldo, which generally is a great lap. But I found something right at the end that perfectly illustrates this. So a little explanation is now necessary. We're crossing the start-finish line. This is where the official timing starts, right underneath those lights. Unfortunately, the timer in my car has picked up the wrong loop and is measuring my laps from the next sector. So I'm not getting an accurate time reading in the car. Overall, the laps tend to be exactly the same time. I know that the in-car system is incredibly accurate. It matches the official timing on most occasions, but it does need to start at the same time. Fortunately for me, this little happy mistake reveals something about where I can find more time. Let me talk you through the lap and I'll explain. With the brakes and tyres now nicely up to temperature and one banker lap under the belt, I've chosen my adversary well. Paul de Vos in front of me. He's been slightly quicker than me. I know if I can close him down, I'm going to get a great qualifying and lap time. I've carried great pace through turn 1, not touched the curb. Braked nicely, kept it tight for turn 2 and opened up the exit onto 3 here. Little hesitant on the throttle, but not too bad. This is the fearsome hanger corner coming up. Barely breathe on the brakes, carry as much speed as I can. Nicely set up into the braking zone. Quite early on the brakes, but really happy with how early I pick up the throttle and the clean exit. And you can see I'm getting closer to Paul here. I set myself up now nice and wide, upshift to fourth and barely touch the brakes to carry pace through. And you can see on the delta we are nicely up on this lap. I'm a little too conservative into this corner. I don't want to make a mistake on the final corner. Too conservative on the brakes, but that's okay. Our exit speed is good, and you'll see I'll get those time gains back as we accelerate and drive for the line. Now, you're not going to see a lap time come up on my dash, and that's because it's timing off the wrong loop. But the official time is a 1:11.94. First time I've dropped into the 1:11s, really happy with it. The qualifying strategy has worked. Unfortunately, I don't have time for another lap here. But I thought to myself, let me just push turn 1 again. I'm sure I can find a tenth or two. And watch what happens to the timer on the dash. Remember, it's measuring the lap time after turn 1. As we approach turn 1, I'm half a second up, 5/10 on the in-car timer. By the time we complete turn 1 and just before the end of the timing loop, I'm 6/10 up. That's 1/10 in one corner, just by carrying more mid-corner speed. And you can hear that off the tyres. You can hear they're working a little bit harder this lap than they did last lap. Had I been able to carry that 1/10 more pace on the official qualifying lap, it would have meant the difference between qualifying 4th and qualifying 2nd. That's a really expensive little mistake, right there. The final thing that I'm going to work on. Folks, there are hundreds of things to work on all the time, but I think you've got to focus on a few so you can measure the improvements. And the final one is slightly odd, actually, because it's not a skill necessarily or a technique, it's a mindset. And it's what's been missing for me, particularly in qualifying. So I'm running second in the media challenge. I'm generally ahead of the other media guys. I'm at the very top end of the dealer class, and I'm qualifying at that level, generally the second row of the grid, right? Nabil is out front. When the flag drops, he's gone. He's not fighting other cars. I spend a couple of laps just sorting out the status quo with the cars that are around me before I can get to a point where I can focus only on delivering super fast lap times. I wouldn't be in that situation if I could also qualify on the front row of the grid. At least then, even if you're second and Nabil gets away, he's the only car in front of me and he's generally quicker. It's always frustrated me, and this is not just now, even when I was much younger in my earlier career, it frustrated me that I always had great race pace. I never really pulled the qualifying lap. Even when we'd get new tires, everybody would go 0.8 or a second quicker, and I'd find half a second. I just never maximize qualifying, and it's something that really hinders you on Saturday come race day. And I really think it's a state of mind. I think what's happening is I'm sitting in the car watching my split times, patting myself on the back every time I go into minus times on corners, and then castigating myself at the next corner when I watch the timer go out again. So I think I'm in a headspace where I'm constantly critiquing and criticizing my lap as I try to qualify, when really I should just be focused forward and attack every corner with as much commitment as I can possibly bring and as much feel to make sure that we don't drift into a mistake during those periods. So at Aldo, I'm not even going to look at my lap times. I'm not going to look at the splits. I'm going to focus on the track in front of me. Hopefully I'll have somebody quick in front of me, and I'm just going to work on shutting them down. Folks, I got to be realistic as to where we sit in this championship. Nabil is way out front, having driven a perfect season so far. I'm in second position, relatively securely, but man, I want to be fighting at the front. The gap is still too big. It's bigger than I'm comfortable with. At this point, it would be easy for me to say, we're going to struggle to bridge that. Let's just have fun these last 3 races. But somewhere deep inside of me, that would be quitting. And there's just no quit in me. So we're going to work hard. We're going to focus forward. We're still going to chip away and get quicker and have some fun at the same time. I hope you enjoyed this one. Obviously, we'll have a full report back and you can see if I succeeded or I failed. The stopwatch never lies. I'll catch you on the next one.